already in the books and another one on the way in this Sweet 16 from the Fort Worth 1 Regional. The 4 seed North Carolina Tar Heels taking on the 1 seed UConn Huskies, the defending champs. Hey, look, folks, we already saw an absolutely outstanding game in that first one between Notre Dame and Vanderbilt. The Fighting Irish moving on to the Elite 8 for the first time since 2019. They'll await the winner of this one as we say hello and welcome you in alongside the Hall of Famer and National Championship coach Carolyn Peck. I'm Tiffany Green. Angel Gray will be with us as well. When you think about UConn, you think about the dominance, right? 52-game winning streak entering today's game. #1 overall seed, trying to go back-to-back as national champions. The question all season, who can beat UConn? How does North Carolina do that today?
Look, Tiffany, the #1 thing that North Carolina's got to do is get over the name that's on the front of UConn's jersey, because that can be intimidating in itself. #2, bring the defense that they brought in the ACC. Top defensive team in the ACC. They've got to bring that defense, and that be the focus tonight.
Well, certainly they've got a tall task when they look along the other side and see Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd as we now show you the star stories brought to you by United Airlines. Look, it doesn't take a whole lot from these two. They are phenomenal players, but the efficiency of them is all the more impressive, Carolyn.
Well, when you look at Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd, they're not 1, but 2 finalists for the Naismith Player of the Year. And Sarah Strong at 6'2" can play any position on the floor. She's in the top 50 in the country in points, in blocks, in steals. There's not much she can't do. And AZ Fudd, yeah, is red hot. Look, she's the only player in Division I shooting 45% from the three-point line. But on the other side, they got a youngster. She's a sophomore. Lady Grant, she's got three-point shot in her arsenal as well. And she's aggressive offensively. And they also have Nyla Harris. She's probably going to have her hands full trying to defend Sarah Strong. But she's had her presence felt in this tournament. She's averaging 15 points and shooting 70% from the floor.
And they are ready to go head-to-head in just a moment as the NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? The Sweet 16 is presented by Coca-Cola. Fan work is thirsty work. Back to Fort Worth ahead of our Sweet 16 matchup between UConn and North Carolina. Hey, the Tar Heels have a tall task in hand. And for more on that, let's send it over to Angel Gray to hear how Courtney Banghart motivated her team. Well, Banghart always comes through with a message for her team, and certainly this is going to be one that is difficult. We'll look to hear from Angel in just a moment, having some technical difficulties, but 7th season as the head coach of North Carolina, 3 out of the last 5 years. She's taking them to the Sweet 16. Gino Auriemma on the other side, winning as coach in all of college basketball for men's and women's 33rd Sweet 16 appearance. His team undefeated this season and looking to continue their quest for another championship. Already 12 in hand, #12 in white. Corrals the rebound for UConn, which is Ashlyn Shade, as we see the #1 overall seed in action for the first time this weekend. Sarah Strong puts it up and off the mark, and India Navarre with the ball. Delaney Grant pops out as we take a look at the starting lineups brought to you by Capital One. We talked about Grant and Harris in the open, but Tony Salo as well is important. And I'll tell you, AZ Fudd, one of the best players in the country, gets the Huskies on the board first.
It's so impressive that AZ Fudd shoots 50% from the floor, 45% from the three-point line. Look, it's not like she's just shooting layups.
And off the mark, Sarah Williams, one of the newcomers in this program this season for the Huskies, grabs the rebound. KK Arnold with the face mask on, and Williams gets it back puts it up, leaves it short.
Talking about Courtney Banghart and her strategy against Maryland. She went away from being that three-point shooting team and said, win your matchups. Against UConn, you got to score whenever possible. Lainey Grant looking for three. What I'm looking for is, can North Carolina make 10 to 15 threes? That gives them a chance against UConn.
Well, she shot 43% from the floor, 5 of 13 from long range in those first 2 games of the NCAA tournament. The bounce pass to Strong over to Arnold. Thought about it. 8 to go on the shot clock. And Shade launches from 3. And the box out and the rebound for North Carolina. 28-7 this season. 14-4 in ACC play. Most wins in 13 years in league play. And this group meeting off with UConn for just the 2nd time in the NCAA tournament. And you think about just how near flawless this UConn team has been this season. 36 wins on the year, controlling the Big East, #1 overall seed for the 15th time in program history. Fudd finds Williams, no, but the offensive rebound, and Fudd puts it back up, and it won't fall.
The thing about this UConn team, yes, Sarah Strong and Azzi Fudd are the best 2 players on the team, but different from having a strong leader like Paige Beckers they had last year, they lead by committee, and all 5 players that are on the floor are a threat.
When you think about Beckers, Caitlin Chen parted for the WNBA. Beckers, who is the #1 overall pick, playing with the Dallas Wings, Rookie of the Year season. And now they do it differently, but they just continue to reload on the break. Here's Navarre. The putback up and in from Nyla Harris, the senior out of Orlando, Florida. Transferred into the program this season from Louisville. And she's already had a great first 2 games in the NCAA tournament for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, Harris brings a leadership component and the muscle inside. You're going to see her battle to control the paint.
Off the mark, both teams just struggling to find their rhythm early on as each team looks to settle in on the court here inside Dickies Arena. Lainey Grant, a sophomore out of Midlothian, Virginia, who's just risen to the occasion this NCAA tournament and is going to remain with the Tar Heels. Last carom off the Huskies.
Yeah, #0 in the Carolina Blue. She had 20 points against Maryland. This is a player that came to the University of North Carolina at the age of 17. I asked her in our meeting yesterday, have you turned 18 yet? She said, yeah, I'm now 18, but she plays like she's probably about 20, 21.
Fudd over to Arnold. Great connection between those 2. A good look, but won't go down for Blanca Quiñones, the freshman out of Ecuador. Navarre got caught up in a traveling violation for India Navarre. Second team All-ACC selection, also a great defender as well for Courtney Banghart.
Yeah, she's got a terrific body and so strong and athletic. That's what makes her so good defensively, and she's not afraid to put her nose in the action.
Arnold, who runs this offense to help to distribute to all the playmakers on the floor. The defender falls down. Quiñones keeps going and gets to the rack.
Talk about a player that plays with great maturity. Quiñones, she's used to playing against pros, so this is no problem.
And she made an immediate impact as that one is blocked by Sarah Strong. Look at her run the floor as well, keeping her eyes up. AZ Fudd finds Strong. That connection ever so special between the AP first team All-Americans.
The thing that I have seen from AZ Fudd, and she even admitted that, reads are something that she has done better this year. And so before she even caught the ball, she's reading. She's like, the shot's not mine. I'm going to Sarah Strong. It was a great read.
Timeout taken on the floor. Strong showing off the block and then rewarded back the other way.
Hello, it's me. Hello, it's me. Hello, it's me.
As we welcome you back now for Need to Know, brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks and Sarah Strong, who has just been efficient in every area of her game. 28 points, 11 and a half rebounds, and that's per 40 minutes. Why is that so important to note, CP?
Well, because she has only played 66 minutes in all the fourth quarters this season. There have been 23 games where she didn't even play in the fourth quarter. So she's getting that done and getting it done quick.
Stolen away by KK on, blocked from behind by India Navarre. All ACC defensive team is because of efforts like that from Navarre.
For UNC to have the opportunity to upset UConn, you got to bring the defense. Navarre knows the assignment.
As we welcome you back into the Sweet 16 matchup between UConn and North Carolina, the Tar Heels trailing by 1. For more on what Coach Banghart said to her team before the game, let's send it over to Angel Gray.
Yeah, Tiffany, the big thing is that they're leaders for North Carolina. The captains mentioned how important it is for Courtney Banghart to put up the 3 boxes on the board that first starts with attack. That's their offense. Defensively, she puts a couple of keys that says lock in. And then the keys for them, they come up with a different word before every game. This one actually has been their mantra throughout the entire season. It's called It's Us. After their Notre Dame loss, which was by 23 points, they came up with this phrase as a team. Not the coaches involved. It meant that they were going to block out the noise, not caring that UConn was across the chest, taking the blows in the first quarter for the Waves, understanding it's us, stick together.
Well, I love that. Thanks so much, Angel. And right now, they are helping to quail these big first quarter efforts that we're typically used to seeing from UConn, as they've held them to just 6 points, still just less than 4.5 to go in the opening quarter.
Yeah, and Angel's report, they went from the theme of the team being together to it's us. That shows me a sign of individual accountability.
And part of that great leadership, India Navarre, who kisses it off the glass. Both she and Nyla Harris have been excellent in their leadership and allowing to help lead this team back to the Sweet 16. Underneath, tough shot, no go.
Yeah,
for Kaylee Heckel.
Yeah, UConn's going to have to get to a point where it's AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong taking the shots.
Heckel pulls it out and sets up the half-court offense. AZ Fudd with 2, along with Strong and Quinones. And 4 points now for the freshman. 6th Woman of the Year in the Big East to go along with Freshman of the Year in the conference. Landy Grant thought about it. Pulls up her dribble in the lane. And you see the bodies converging on the basketball as both Strong and Heckel get on the floor, tied up with that loose ball with Nyla Harris.
The thing about playing against UConn, you cannot be uncertain with the basketball, because as soon as you show question or doubt, they're coming to attack.
5 turnovers now. Caring for the basketball is something that the Tar Heels will have to keep at a premium against this UConn team. Fudd, who tied a career high with 34 points, 8 threes in that win over Syracuse as they rolled over the Orange. And Quinones pulls out, knocks down the three. A 38% three-point shooter is Quinones.
Yeah, she played the past 4 years in Italy at the pro level, and it's showing up. She's ready to play on this stage. Oh, that's nice.
Pushing the issue. Too strong, gets her own rebound. Huskies control it. They try to get into Sarah Strong. She collects it, no. Offensive rebound, lips off. Elena Arnisalo in the ball game, 17 in Tar Heel blue as India Navarre sees it roll around.
These first 8 minutes, North Carolina doesn't seem to be bothered by the name across the front of the chest.
Well, that's the first step to try to take down a dominant team like UConn, searching for its 13th national championship and seeking another trip to the Elite Eight, what would be the 30th time in program history. Nyla Brooks in the ballgame, the freshman out of Waldorf, Maryland. Doesn't follow her own shot, but it still comes back to her, tied up. And the Huskies have it. Shade for 3, no. So already 5 rebounds to go along with 5 points for India Navarre.
Yeah, Gino didn't look too pleased with that shot selection. UConn is so good when the ball is popping and moving around. They get shots in rhythm.
Arnisalo transferred from UCLA, played against UConn last year. Inside to Harris, and Harris bulldozes her way through. Harris just so strong with the basketball.
Yeah, her presence inside. You know, her dad's a football player, so she ain't afraid of any contact.
Played 8 seasons in the NFL with the Vikings and the Giants, did Robert Harris. Too strong from 3, from Strong.
Too many one and dones for UConn. They're not even getting second chance opportunities. Only 4 offensive rebounds.
Shooting just 23% from the floor. The Huskies 33% clip for the Tar Heels, looking for the final shot of the opening quarter. And Arnisalo sees it rim off with that English. Fudd from beyond half court. And no good, but the 4-seed North Carolina Tar Heels take a 1-point lead after 1 against the Huskies.
The Tar Heels bringing a lot of confidence. It starts with India Navarre. Courtney Banghart has the plan. We had a good one in the first.
North Carolina leads after 1. Just moments ago, our Angel Gray caught up with Courtney Banghart. All right, thanks so much, Angel. And you were just talking about India Navarre, and this is just a sample size of what she's done thus far.
Yeah, she brought it on the defensive end. She has scored 5 points. She's 2 of 4 from the floor, but most impressive to me from the guard spot, 5 rebounds. So she is bringing it for the Tar Heels.
Well, she was a player that we heard Coach Banghart talk about the importance of her staying on the floor. When she's on the floor, she makes the difference. The senior out of Apex, North Carolina, already off to a great start. And really, you've got to feel confident if you're North Carolina. You held a team that's used to averaging better than 35 points in the first quarter, as you heard Coach Banghart tell Angel about their big spurts and splashes in the first quarter. Their fewest points in a quarter this season.
But one of the worst things that can happen, that stoppage in between quarters. Now, team, can you keep that defensive intensity? And it also allows Gino to make some adjustments and address where he wants his offense to come from.
And the defense right there going at the teeth of it was Grant. And she was denied. Shade.
Nick, the scouting report for North Carolina, if you can make somebody besides Azzi Fudd and Sarah Strong take shots, that's a win.
Only taken 9 shots, 22 field goal attempts in total for the Huskies. The elevation rise, but Bud can't connect, and that's also another point. I mean, a relatively cold start for UConn, leading the nation in field goal percentage, shooting 22% from the floor so far. What a move, the hezzy there, but Fudd can't finish at the rim. Brooks. Over to Harris. And Harris picks up her dribble, looking for somewhere to go. The illegal screen set by Harris. Offensive foul, it's going to be UConn basketball.
Do you agree with that call? You're shaking your head.
I do agree. She stepped right and tripped her with her right leg. It's an illegal screen. Correct call by the referee. Can we say that?
Yes.
Absolutely. I love it.
Dee Kantner, of course, the decorated career you had as an official, and certainly
Called old. That's all old career.
No. Multiple championships and Final Fours. You got to give the refs some love. It's a tough job.
Thanks, Tiff.
Boy, the take, just the read there from Quinones, sizing up the defender and finishing at the left. 9 points so far for the freshman to lead the way for UConn. And Hall for 3, and Layla Hall is off the mark in that attempt. But the Tar Heels get it right back. Well, Gino Auriemma is looking on at his team. Is there anything defensively that they're doing that you either like and want to continue or need to change?
For UConn?
For UConn.
For UConn, they came out in this second quarter even more aggressive, but it's on the offensive end, the ability to convert. I expect him to go back to Quinones operating in the middle of the floor. The defense is so focused on Fudd and Strong, so spread them out, open up the floor, and let Quinones go to work.
Grant has it nearly stolen away. And Hull, another three-point attempt. Up the left side, Shade looking. First action from Allie Zabel. Good friends with Sarah Strong as she's able to knock down the midi.
Yeah, moving Strong a little closer to the body, to the basket. Let her get her rhythm early inside the paint.
Hall with another three-point attempt. And just not able to connect from downtown. We talk about this North Carolina team. Well, Sarah Strong very familiar with this group as she's out of Durham, North Carolina. So right in that same area, Durham, Chapel Hill, Research Triangle.
Ask her if they're still friends. I think coming into this game, she said we used to be. I think they'll make up and be friends after the game's over.
Strong and excellent competitor. We've talked about just the way that she's continued to lead the team, and now she's starting to heat up. Top points getter in rebounds, blocks, and steals, as you mentioned earlier. And that's just following off an impressive freshman campaign that she had last year, National Freshman of the Year. And the tie-up. UConn basketball, back to that last make from Strong.
I can expect UConn to go more to a steady diet of Sarah Strong taking shots. I mean, this is a player that shoots 60% from the floor. and can score anywhere on the floor. Terrific size at 6'2", and confidence like a senior.
She's had another superb season, just a sophomore. Gina Auriemma has talked about just her potential in this UConn program and where she may finish when it's all said and done, as bodying up underneath. And Strong flexing right now, an 8-0 run for the Huskies.
Yeah, UConn gone to a Sarah Strong package. That time diagonal screen, get her isolated on the block.
Grant trying to get it inside to Harris, saying look the other way. Fudd with great defense, all up in her grill.
Yeah, trying to get Sarah Strong isolated. The screen, Navarre leaves the help, so it's only Harris to defend Strong all alone. That's just too much power right there.
Just the strength of Sarah Strong. I mean, yes, that is her last name, but you just can't even begin to equate just how this 6'2" forward is muscling her way through and finesse at the same time. She's got the total package as the make on the other end for Anisalo. Back to Strong. She's got the last 6 points for UConn. Gets a little separation and just does that. The 15-footer ever looks so effortlessly with that stroke.
Yeah, because she's a player that can tend to defer and be too much of a willing passer. She got to be more selfish right now.
Well, that was a conversation that we had with Gina Auriemma yesterday. Look, you've got the ability to take over. Be aggressive.
And Sarah Strong has to understand she is the best player on the floor. Going one-on-one, unless they're trapping her, she's got to go to work because she can create just about any shot she wants.
Already with 10 points tonight, she averaged 18 points in the first 2 rounds to go along with the 7 rebounds, and I think that's what's so impressive. It's just that there's every element of the game that she's involved in, stats-wise. Navarre having to work, puts it up, falls hard to the floor. She's fouled.
And Courtney Banghart gave Sarah Strong, I think, the ultimate compliment. She said, if she were eligible for the WNBA draft, she would be the first pick. I don't question that. I might have to agree.
Not at all. Totally agree. But AZ Fudd is projected to be the #1 overall pick in this WNBA draft upcoming next month. Coming up next, the women's Sweet 16 continues on ESPN. Minnesota squaring off against the 1 seed UCLA at 7:30, and then the nightcap off by Duke LSU coming your way. Hey, 4th straight Sweet 16 for the Bruins. Lauren Betts, the career high 35 points in their last game. The addition of Yana Neekins. Hake shooting well. Bruins gonna be tough. They were knocked out by UConn last year in the Final Four. Arnisalo was a part of that Bruins team, now trying to take down UConn in a North Carolina unit.
One of the things that Courtney Banghart told Angel Gray was, if we would make our layups, they are 1 for 8 on layups so far today.
An area where they've got to finish around the rim if they want to try to pull off this upset. UConn looking more spry. The 3-point attempt from Strong, who's too strong. Less than 4 minutes to go in the half. And UConn, after trailing by a point in that first quarter, has outscored the Tar Heels 10-4 in this second quarter. With the NCAA Women's Championship presented by Capital One on ESPN is brought to you by Geico. It feels good to Geico. And sit. Thanks so much, ladies, and we look forward to it. But for you, Carolyn Keys, for North Carolina, what do they need to do in these final 4 minutes going into the locker room?
Well, in the first quarter, they were tied in the paint 6-6. North Carolina has not been able to finish in the paint, where UConn has changed their focus. Instead of taking threes, they're attacking the paint. So North Carolina is going to have to keep UConn out of there.
Navarre on the inbound. Tisa Cuores. 26 for the Tar Heels over to Navarre. And Navarre has been the main scoring threat. She continues to motor out points now with 9.
Yeah, Navarre's been the most efficient Tar Heel, 3 of 5 from the floor. Navarre likes the matchup. She has Ashlyn Shade on her, believes that she's got the size and the strength. And I love how she's finishing off 2 feet in the paint.
Shade has it. AZ Fudd only with 2 points so far in the game. KK Arnold, who loves to feed off the energy of Fudd and Strong, among other teammates, and just staying with it as Sarah Williams get the second chance points for the Huskies, their first of the game.
That's the other area. If UConn's missing shots in the first quarter, they weren't getting those second chance opportunities. Sarah Williams has got to bring that for the Huskies.
Well, Gino admitted to us yesterday, hey, look, we've relied on just shooting the ball so well, 53% to lead the nation, not necessarily strong on the O board. So if they can continue that, could spell trouble for North Carolina, who gets their own offensive rebound. Five to go on the shot clock. Back over to Arnie Salo. A little hesitation there. And baseline jumper won't fall, but chasing down and tracking down the ball are the Tar Heels. Another open look this time to Leah Henderson, too strong. Not the best shooting outing so far for either team. 2 of 10 from three-point range for North Carolina, an area where they've excelled this season, shooting 36%. Broke the record from last year in terms of threes, but right now, don't try to get cruising. Strong. Arnold trying to get it over, but no, stolen away by India Navarre. Known for those quick swipes and coming back the other way. And finishing off with points now with 11. And it's a three-point ball game advantage UConn.
Playing like a senior supposed to play when she's in the NCAA tournament. Look, you leave it all on the floor, and Navarre has been aggressive since she left the locker room today.
As we take a look at court coverage brought to you by Geico, and Navarre was the lone Tar Heel in double figures with 11 points to go along with 6 rebounds, 10 points on 50% shooting for Sarah Strong. Blanca Quiñones adding 9.
UConn still hasn't gotten Easy Fudd going. She's only 1 of 7 from the floor tonight.
Strong hits 1 of 2. Nyla Harris checks out. Nyla Brooks in for the Tar Heels. A 4-point ball game with 1.5 minutes to go in this first half of the Sweet 16.
Look, and Connecticut has only trailed at the half 1 time all season, and that was against Villanova. Oh, was she didn't get across half court. That's got to be a 10-second violation.
Deep. Indeed.
Absolutely. I was given the signal, not that I'm legally allowed to do that, but I'm like, yes, that's a 10-second violation. I'm glad they caught it.
I almost blew the whistle for you over here.
Wouldn't have been the first time you've done that for me either, so.
I thought you still wanted to take the court. I thought you were going to suit back up.
I was ready to sub in. I was subbing in.
Huskies convert once again. And again, it's been a steady dose of Sarah Strong in this second quarter in particular. That's helped give UConn the 6-point lead.
Yeah, if your team's struggling to score, what do? Simplify. And what they've gone to is just that diagonal screen, bringing Sarah Strong to the block.
In the second quarter, you see the difference there. 11 points for the sophomore compared to just 4 for the rest of her team in this quarter. Grant, she's got to get going. And again, not able to finish at the rim. That's been the Achilles heel in this first half for the Tar Heels. Quiñones, boy. I mean, when you watch her play, she just makes you move in your seat. With just her footwork, her ball handling skills, as Brooks is fouled back the other way by the freshman.
Quiñones is so smooth with the basketball. This is a player that's 6'2" with handles. And you watch her, she starts left, brings it back to the right. That is just so sweet.
You hear Coach Auriemma and those who follow UConn basketball talk about this freshman. They say, look, she has got loads of potential. She's shown certainly that throughout this season, averaging 10 points a game. But there's just even more for her to go. I think one of the areas where they want to see her elevate her game is on the boards, right? Because she has that size, and that's another level to add to her package. Shade has it, puts up the 3. And 0.7 seconds remaining in this one. It's North Carolina basketball. And I'll tell you this, Gino may not be necessarily pleased with the first 2 quarters of basketball for his team, but AZ Fudd only has 2 points. One of that dynamic duo, Sarah Strong, helped to carry the load in that second quarter, and they go into the half with an 8-point lead.
North Carolina's got to be pleased. Only down 8. They're in striking distance for the most part. Look, they're in this thing in the Sweet 16.
Our Angel Gray is standing by with Sarah Strong.
Sir, well, after being down
on this Friday evening now from Fort Worth, Texas, Sweet 16 game between the 4 seed North Carolina Tar Heels and the #1 overall seed UConn Huskies with an 8-point lead as we welcome you back inside Dickies Arena. Carolyn Peck, Tiffany Green. All right, so looking at that first quarter, if you're a North Carolina fan, you felt good. You had hope after 1, but then things shifted for UConn, and when you look at Sarah Strong and the job that she did in that second quarter as we look at our slam dunk matchup brought to you by Wendy's. 11 of those 13 points for Strong came in the second quarter.
Yeah, Courtney Banghart knew that the first quarter is a strong quarter for Connecticut. They made it ugly, but it was India Navarre who's playing like a senior. She brought it on the defensive end and then scoring, aggressive mentality on the offensive end. And that's what she's got to continue now rolling into the second half, because Connecticut figured out they needed to go to Sarah Strong. They needed to move her a little closer to the basket so that she was able to use her size advantage. You see her posting up down low on Hull, and when she catches it, squaring up. And I believe Gino said, listen, that's a no-pass zone. When you get the ball inside, you got to use your strength and power and finish. And that's exactly what she did in the second.
Well, Sarah Strong leading all scorers with 13 points. We saw 11 from India Navarre. Now you think about this. Among the nation's best players on this UConn team, Strong, the other part of that dynamic tandem. AZ Fudd held to just 2 points on 1 of 7 shooting from the floor. We'll see if she'll turn it around here in the final 2 quarters.
I'm checking out whether Connecticut in the third quarter, they're pretty strong. They average about 22.6 points a game for the half. In the second half, they really turn things up. They average about 40 points a game. So can North Carolina's defense hold tight?
Well, for more on the adjustments for the Tar Heels, let's send it over to Angel.
Yeah, Tiffany, I was able to catch up with Courtney about how she was able to hold AZ to 1 for 7 from the field. She said making everything difficult, all 5 on the floor, the communication, the switches have to be good, but also the not biting on the multiple actions towards the rim. They have to be disciplined in that, but also she said Sarah Strong got going. They are using her on more on and off ball screens, so trying to make sure that they can handle those actions as well.
Yeah, with AZ Fudd, because of her footwork and her handles, you can't bite on that first motion. You've got to stay solid with your defense, and communication is huge. It's not on the responsibility just on the person on the ball. The other 4 got to be connected.
So India Navarre with the personal foul, her first, team's first, and Ashlyn Shade at the line for the Huskies.
Be interested to see how quickly does Gino go back to Quinones, because between her and Sarah Strong, they combined for 24 of UConn's 28 points.
Well, you heard Drea and Chanae talking about just how she helped to carry the load early on for the Huskies with those 9 points when Fudd and Strong had yet to get into action. Navarre again, and missed layups is something that you talked about in the first half for the Tar Heels. A lot of points left on the board for them. Salo looks inside. Nyla Harris collected 4 points, offensive foul, an extension of the arm. So Harris collects her 4th foul. And that is going to be critical. She's the team's leading scorer. The presence inside, and also has been great on the offensive boards this season. They need her.
Well, they need her strength and muscle to handle Sarah Strong, because with Harris goes out, I got to believe Connecticut's going into paint.
They go, it's to Sarah Williams, and Williams leaves it just rimming off. So Sierra Toomey in the game for Nyla Harris. And a lot of time left here. We'll see how long Harris will sit.
Arnisalo needs to get going for North Carolina. She's only got 2 points.
Double team over to Navarre. They're gonna meet. And Grant off the mark from 3. North Carolina just 2 of 11 from long range. Neither team shooting the ball particularly well from beyond the arc. And Fudd takes it baseline. And that could be the bucket that gets AZ Fudd going. The attack mentality right to the hoop. Brooks trying to work on Strong, finds Navarre for three. And just short. So Strong bringing the ball up the floor. Finds Williams, and Williams is fouled.
You watch Fudd continue to stay in motion. Look, you got to have amnesia of the previous shots that you've missed, but to continue to move and work for the basketball. You know, once she drove on the baseline, then it was a freshman that was relied on the rotation. She's late, and that's where AZ Fudd was able to score.
And Sarah Williams at the line, the senior transferred from Wisconsin. She's a first team All Big Ten selection for a couple of seasons, and now the Brooklyn native trying to continue this run for UConn, winning 52 games straight entering today's game. They come into the tournament undefeated for a 10th season.
All 5 players on the floor for North Carolina are three-point threats.
And the steal picked up by Sarah Strong. In transition, the bucket. And timeout taken by North Carolina because it's a 12-0 run for UConn going back to that first half.
You know what Popeye likes for his strength? Spinach. I don't know what Sarah Strong had in the locker room, but she came out strong in the third.
The NCAA Women's Championship, presented by Capital One on ESPN, is brought to you by Blue Buffalo. Love them like family. Feed them like family. Largest lead of the game for UConn, a 15-point advantage. Notre Dame awaiting the winner of this game. And UConn has taken advantage of those 13 North Carolina turnovers, scored 15 points off of them.
And Courtney Banghart knew the first and third quarters are usually when UConn is at their best.
And in the first quarter, it was Carolina who was able to hold them off, but AZ Fudd is starting to get rolling here in this third quarter. You talk about just when they come out of the locker room, they average better than 22 points a game in the third.
AZ Fudd running in transition, no hesitation. She knew before she caught this, she was going to let it go. And it is textbook. Elbow over the knee, and look at that follow through. That's beautiful.
Laney Grant over to Toomey. He's stolen away by Fudd. Finding shade for three. Rims off. And still, you look at how UConn was able to build out this lead. They started 5 of 24, but since then have gone 11 of 18 from the field. And the lead is ballooned to 18. Timeout taken on the floor. We'll step aside here with 6:09 to go in the third. Welcome back as we take a look at the Capital One rewarding performance. And how about earlier today, Hannah Hidalgo and the Fighting Irish moving on to the Elite Eight. And the elation after the triple-double, third of her career, second this season for the amazing junior point guard. And I'll tell you this, a number of times, the battles that have been between UConn and Notre Dame right now, the Huskies with the lead trying to meet off. Once again, they bested Notre Dame earlier this season. Strong goes to the floor, but they beat a very tough Vanderbilt team. 2 seed coming in this year. And it came down to the wire. I mean, it was a back and forth game, CP.
Yeah, I mean, you had Michaela Bright struggled in the first half, but the second half turned it up, but it was a full game. Nice cut by KK Arnold, but it was a full total complete game by Hannah Hidalgo. 10 steals, 11 rebounds, and 31 points. Come on.
And Lainey Grant launching for three, and just to think, hey, there's plenty more basketball still on the way. That was just the first of 4 games on ESPN for the Sweet 16, as Kiki Rice and the 1 seed UCLA Bruins out in Sacramento will be ready to rock and roll.
Lauren Betts, 35 points in her last game. She is a nightmare to match up with at 6'7", and has a face-up game. Everything ain't it just at the rim. She gets shooted as well.
They'll take on Minnesota. That's coming your way after this one concludes. And then you just think about all around the tournament, as it's all around ball movement on the perimeter for the Huskies. Got Kiki Rice ready to go, trying to make another run to the Final Four. Did it last year. This time they're trying to get to Phoenix as the destination. And you look at the assist-to-turnover ratio, 6th best in NCAA Division I.
Point guards help teams to advance. We saw what Hannah Hidalgo did for Notre Dame. Kiki Rice, she's a senior now. She's ready to lead the Bruins on to continue them dancing in this NCAA tournament.
We heard Gino talk earlier this season about the importance, as that one pushed in by Nyla Harris. Remember, she's playing with 4 fouls, but she's on the floor here. It's going to be really important for her to remain on the floor as Arnold is fouled. But Gino talked about just the importance of the guard play, the backcourt. He needs KK Arnold and Ashlyn Shea to help steady things. And remember, they got that experience a couple of years ago when this Husky team had to deal with a few injuries, Paige Beckers and Caitlin Chin, so they got some of that experience.
He talked about early in his career of how you have to, you've got to be aware of anything that can go wrong.
Remember, coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship continues on CBS and TBS. For tournament game times and networks, go to ncaa.com.
Oh, that's a double dribble. Yeah, but Gino was talking about early on when he had the target was on somebody else's back. The plan was what you're going to try to do to them, what you're going to stop to them. Now that he's got another team that's on an undefeated streak in a season, he starts thinking about what can go wrong. What if we don't make shots? What if we turn the ball over? I don't think he's got much to worry about with how this team's playing right now.
Well, with so much attention, as Harris goes to the floor, holds on to a possession arrow, is going to give the ball back to UConn. But he mentioned just how well this team plays together. Yes, you have 2 National Player of the Year finalists in Fudd and Strong, but the whole is better than its parts. And so he talked about the need for everyone to chip in and make an impact, as that one thrown away, and they hand it over to the Tar Heels. And 5 players on this UConn team with 100 assists or more. It's so impressive. I mean, you think about it, they're top 10 in that statistical category every year. They lead the nation once again this year.
Well, this team is so unselfish in the chemistry. They are TikTok, social media, vlog queens, and it's a different group. Now, KK Arnold is the ringleader in this, but they're all together. Gino talks about when they go to dinner, it's not a clique of just this group's together or that group's together. Like, they all mix within each other, and so that's what allows a team without a star-studded, strong leader to lead as a group. They're all on the same page. They've got that common goal, making the main thing the main thing.
You and I haven't done a TikTok this season.
Well, I got to get my rhythm together before we start TikToking. My best TikTok moves, it's in the car when I'm by myself.
Well, you speak about that chemistry for the Huskies. For more on that, let's send it over to Angel.
Yeah, and also, Carolyn, I think you might need to speak with Chris Daly because she's involved in TikTok and Instagram and bringing all the things for team chemistry off the floor. KK Arnold mentioned that just how this team is so together. It's really connected on the defensive end. That's how we see it in the games. But off the floor, they stay together with games, bringing in different type of people like magicians that they've been able to do. They have trivia with one another. I mean, it goes down the line with how Chris Daly makes it different for them off the floor to get connected.
Angel, that's an element that sometimes goes overlooked. You just think because you've assembled a great deal of talent that it's just going to work. But there's a chemistry off the court that you have to have.
That rims off. And CP, when you look at the players on the floor for the Huskies, everybody, of course, eyes in on Fudd and Strong. But who is that player in your eyes for the Huskies that's made that difference or that impact that maybe was not expected?
Well, I think it's a player like KK Arnold that had to play. She was coming in as a reserve off the bench down the line, but waited her turn, but continued to be engaged so that when her time presented itself, she was ready. A player that you watch make those kind of sacrifices as a point guard and then takes it upon herself to set up everybody else. Look, that endears your team to that point guard.
Strong, decisive move to the hoop. And Brooks is whistled for the foul. So Strong, back to the line. You may remember her mother, Allison Feaster, basketball player at Harvard, part of that team. There she is, sitting in, a 16 seed, knocking off a 1 seed Stanford. Back in 1998, the only team to do that.
You can see that competitive determination in Sarah Strong.
Well, Saturday's Sweet 16 matchups at 12:30 Eastern on ABC. It's Louisville squaring off against Michigan, followed by Kentucky taking on the #1 seed Texas down in the Fort Worth 3 regional. Then over on ESPN, Oklahoma and South Carolina, the 1 seed, face off at 5. And we cap the day off with Cinderella, Virginia, taking on TCU.
Now, we had our first triple-double from Hannah Hidalgo. Will we get another one from Olivia Miles tomorrow? She's a triple-double queen. It's a point guard that can score it, rebound it, assist it, steal. She can get it in a number of different categories.
You see a stoppage in play as Strong is getting attention.
There's also blood on the basketball, so we've got infection control on the basketball, and you cannot wipe that off on your polyester pants.
You can't just take it and just rub it down?
No, not acceptable protocol. So that's what the officials stopped for.
Safety first.
And they're taking the appropriate measures to address that. As Strong still getting attention on the athletic training staff. Gonna bandage that bad boy up and we'll return to the line. Strong, McDonald's All-American coming out of high school, the National Player of the Year coming into this UConn program, and she continues to rack up the accolades in her still very young career. And Salo out to Hall.
Arnisalo looks to have blood on the back of her jersey.
Held to just 2 points this afternoon.
Well, she and Lainey Grant
That was quick release. Talk about that textbook shot from AZ Fudd. It was right there. Top of the key three.
Man, Arnicello and Laney Grant had 20 points apiece against Maryland. They haven't been able to get their offense going against this Connecticut stingy defense.
And we saw this North Carolina team really claw and fight their way through the second round. They had a big fourth quarter to close out the Terps and played some great defense down the stretch. But right now, there is not much of an answer for this UConn offense who's gotten going.
We were talking about players that have similar quick releases. Marina Mabry comes to mind in the WNBA.
Final minute of the third. Salo, tough contested shot. And going to get it was Zabel. Well, UConn just a little bit below their season average of third quarters, but they've outscored the Tar Heels 18-5 in this quarter alone. 7 to go on the shot clock. Trying to work her way through is Heckel and somehow does so. Amazing finish for Kaylee Heckel. And just losing the handle and another turnover. Now 17 for the Tar Heels, so 5.2 seconds remaining in the quarter. And UConn can push this lead further.
Heckel needs to bring it fast and kick it to Fudd for a quick release.
Heckel gets it across, loses the handle, and that brings us to the close of the third. It's been all UConn in this one as AZ Fudd, along with Sarah Strong, have the Huskies on top after three. I don't know why, but I feel like free. All right, let's take a look at the player spotlight brought to you by Hilton.
Have the two of them to say the least. You see AZ Fudd, she's going to receive a screen and then set two. What does that do? Gets you rewarded with your own screen and gives Fudd time to get right into that pretty shot.
And their parents looking on. Mother Katie, who played basketball at NC State, and father Tim as well. And certainly when you just think about her journey and the process that it has been for her, but now she's a part of yet another undefeated season for UConn. 52 straight wins for this program. Got to go back to February of 2025, the last time anyone added a blemish to their record. And they are less than 10 minutes away from punching a ticket to their 30th Elite Eight. A dozen national championship, 29 Elite Eights to this point.
I think AZ Fudd is the epitome of resilience with the injuries that she has had to fight through in her career to be the most outstanding player of last year's Final Four and now playing the way that she is now.
Oh my goodness, she was just unconscious in that Final Four. I mean, the tournament, she just looked superb to earn those most outstanding player honors.
Just 21.5 points per game and shooting 55% from the floor. Just a little bit.
So you come off your healthiest career of the season after being, as you mentioned, riddled with injuries. The first two as the nice pass inside to Jana Alfie. And then you come back and you put up career numbers in your final season.
Well, you have that sense of urgency, too. You know, you want to leave it with a cherry on top.
And I think the question that we asked coming on was, you know, who's going to stop UConn, or if anyone can stop. In your opinion, I mean, you've got the other #1 seeds. We'll see Texas tomorrow, South Carolina, along with UCLA. Those were the 4 teams in the Final Four last year. You know, who can try to knock down this UConn team? Because they are full steam ahead.
Well, #1, I'm not going to give Notre Dame locker room material and count them out, because Hannah Hidalgo is playing like a team on a mission. But over in that UCLA bracket, got to play Minnesota. But then you got either Duke or LSU that could advance, and those 2 teams are really hot right now. You got South Carolina that they could meet in the semifinals, but South Carolina's got to get past Oklahoma. So we still got plenty of good basketball to watch.
2 more today. We'll see UCLA and Duke, and then UCLA rather in Minnesota, and then Duke and LSU.
But here's the thing with this UConn team. If you can out-rebound them and finish layups inside, you give yourself a chance.
Deep into the shot clock, and Quiñones able to put it in. Blanca Quiñones, 18 points, an efficient 13 points, an efficient 6 of 8 from the floor, as a blocking foul called against Strong. And Harris.
Oh, that was really close. I mean, D, why was that called a block instead of a charge?
Because we didn't get legal guarding position until the player was in the air. Now, had she had that position prior to the player leaving the floor, that's hers. And a lot of people say you have to allow the player to come down. That is not true. However, she did not have position when she left the floor. Therefore, a block.
D, for the rest of my career, I want to at least have you on Zoom sitting next to me calling games. I love that.
Thanks, CP. I think I'd enjoy that, actually.
Let's check in with Angel.
Dee, this is Angel Gray just saying that, yes, we had our conversation earlier about how that needed to be established in this season.
We did, because Angel was making plays out.
Well, great defense by the Tar Heels. The block there, and now let's see if they can convert into points, as Nyla Harris with a nice step through in the left-hand finish.
These Tar Heels are not going to go away without a fight. And remember, they've got 3-point threats on this team. As long as there's that 3-ball option, no lead is safe.
Off the mark from 3 is Strong. The offensive rebound. And resetting at the top. Fudd looking on. Single digits to work with. And Navarre steals it away. Navarre, who started the game much that way, second in the ACC in steals behind Notre Dame's Hannah Hidalgo, who's best in the nation. Now with 4 steals for India Navarre. Make that 5 as UConn spins a timeout here. They've got a 20-point lead. The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? To help them advance to the Sweet 16. Again, that's coming your way next.
Not only do you have to game plan to how to slow down Lauren Betts offensively, you got to figure out how you got to score over 6'7" when she's on defense.
Quiñones knocking down the 3 ball. She's got 16 points. And the way that we have seen, Corey Close use Betts a little bit more and moving her around. Quiñones, who got the deflection, gets on the floor, and look at the hustle there. Strong tried to bat it back in, although she was out of bounds. With this sizable lead, UConn is playing like everything is on the line. I love this hustle.
Gino talks about they're not competing against an opponent, they're competing against a standard. So regardless of what the discrepancy is in the score, there is a certain level his players know they've got to perform.
And Arnold diving on the floor. Comes up with it. Sarah Strong pulls it out. And Fudd off the mark, but forcing 20 turnovers yet again. They did that as picking the pocket to steal from KK Arnold.
Gino said, go. I mean, whoa, and pull it back out. He changed that up real quick.
31 games this season when it has forced 20 or more turnovers in a ball game, back-to-back games, and doing so. Had 20 against Syracuse and 21 here this evening. Again, Courtney Banghart, 3 of the last 5 years, making it to the Sweet 16. And less than 5 minutes to go for the Tar Heels season, and if they've got a shot at moving on, they've got to put it on the gas fast, as the three-point shooting has not been there, an area where they have, you know, been successful and relied upon this season. They led the ACC in three-point makes. And yet another steal. Meanwhile, the defense for UConn, we talk so often about the offensive playmakers, but the defense, they enter today's game with a program record for steals on the season, and they're closing in on the Division I single season record. In that category is Fudd looking inside. Williams off 1 foot, no.
But Connecticut's ability to defend the three, their opponents only shoot 27% from the three-point line, so they guard you all over the floor.
Another steal, and things starting to fall apart for the Tar Heels as a reverse layup for Sarah Strong. 9th double-double this season for Strong. 21 points, 10 rebounds. The 22nd of her career for the AP first team All-American. A quick release there for Toomey, no.
The defense doesn't let up. Sarah Strong leads the team scoring, blocks, and steals. She's having a good time in her dance in the Sweet 16.
And Sarah Strong, again, unbelievable to think she's just a sophomore and that good. And when Gina Oriema has talked about her, she could finish on the Mount Rushmore of UConn basketball players, and that's saying a whole heck of a lot. But she is in the running for the Naismith Player of the Year finalists, along with her teammate AZ Fudd, Lauren Betts, who we talked about from UCLA, and Michaela Blakes we saw earlier for Vanderbilt. For more, let's send it over to Angel.
Well, it's so interesting that you talk about Sarah Strong being such a star. She tries to avoid the spotlight, even though she is just that, as you mentioned. But she said that she avoids creating individual statistical goals. Instead, she sets several small objectives each day, like communicating better, crashing the boards, help a teammate, and make success feel more attainable and less self-serving. But coach is like, I need more Diana out of you.
Well, but he also likened her to Diana, of saying that the best player doesn't have to take all the shots. When Diana came in, she had great talent around her, and people asked Diana, why would you go there? You're going to have to play behind, you know, all these other players. And Diana's like, why would you not want to go play there? She's okay with deferring. That was Sarah Strong coming to UConn as well.
The block on the other end from Quinones, and off the miss. But just think about it. You just said Diana. You didn't even have to say a last name. You could say Diana. You could say Sue. You can say Tina. You can say Maya. You can say Brianna. I mean, that is just the tradition that is Paige. And now Sarah is trying to etch her name in that history as well. 1:58 remaining in this Sweet 16 game as Sarah Strong is done for the night. Strong, again, 21 points to go along with 10 rebounds. had 5 steals and a couple of blocks in there as well. It's a block from Toomey. Sierra Toomey, first-year starter for the Tar Heels out of Dunmore, PA. 1.4 to go on the shot clock, and quickly in a great out-of-bounds play as Shade puts it in. So you think about this North Carolina team, and Courtney Banghart and the job that she has done. This group out of the ACC hosted second straight season in the NCAA tournament, making it back to the Sweet 16. As AZ Fudd gets a round of applause from the audience, but you think about these seniors, you look at India Navarre, who has not given up in this game, but she has just put forth premium effort all season long. Nyla Harris as well, who have helped this team make it this far. You just have to credit their leadership.
Yeah, the players talk about how the trust that they have in Courtney Banghart's preparation, how she develops them. And look, she said, the players, they run through walls for me. India Navarre demonstrated that today with her 17 points.
It was just tough to get going. Navarre needed some help. She had 20 points, but Nyla Harris added 8, and outside of that, it was a tough game from the field.
And Sarah Strong was just too much for North Carolina with her 21 points and 10 rebounds. Decided to go in the paint, go to work, and she produced.
Ducharme and Caroline Ducharme off the mark. Just to let you know, for the 6th straight year, every NCAA Women's Championship game is on the networks of ESPN. For more information, go to ncaa.com. Over the next few days, you'll see the regional rounds from both here in Fort Worth and Sacramento. And the final stop will be Phoenix, host of the Final Four this year.
Be interesting who are the Final Four standing. That's going to be a fantastic closeout of the regular season of the NCAA women's college basketball.
Well, this UConn team will face off against Notre Dame, a very familiar place that these two have met in the NCAA tournament a couple of times in the national championship. And as time winds down, the season concludes for North Carolina, and the UConn standard remains firmly intact. The Huskies keep dancing and punch their ticket to the Elite Eight for the 30th time in program history. The career night for India Navarre, not enough to tangle with the likes of Sarah Strong, AZ Fudd, and the #1 overall seed, UConn.
UConn now 53 wins in a row. A little shaky start in the first quarter, but they settled in. They continue to roll through the rest of the game.
Well, AZ Fudd could finish with just 10 points, but Blanca Quiñones did a great job, 16 points, and we mentioned the double.